chapter clicked in to College Volleyball Weekly on Viral Volley Media. Now here's your host, Rob on mic.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to College Volleyball Weekly, where nothing is in control. We just exist in chaos here. We've actually got 5 panelists today. One's computer's updating. The other just wants to go black on us for now. Friend DDA, you see that on the screen. But on screen, you can see Jay Hossack at Georgia Mason, Nickie Sanlin of McKendree, Brad Rothschild of UC San Diego. The black screen is Dan Friend of Lewis because he's doing top secret operative stuff. And then Theo Edwards. Microsoft said, you know what, let's update them right now as we're about to start. So with that, we're going to start with a quick news item, then go to a elephant in the room, which is the results for all the participant panelists here. Just wanted to do a quick, memoriam of Cena Sbari, D1 athlete, D2 athlete who recently passed due to losing a battle to desmoplastic sarcoma. He's diagnosed with that in 2022. He'd played at Charleston, transferred to Fairleigh Dickinson, and we received that notification probably about 10 days ago. And he's such an influential player to the community. For someone who probably didn't see a lot of time, he was so well known. You could see from his social feed, from the people who were posting pics with him, and just the life that he lived. He was a very outgoing, energetic, and charismatic individual. So I wanted to just say, hearts and prayers to the family. He passed, I believe, 2 Mondays ago, and was 25. But I want to read some quotes from Fairleigh Dickinson and his coach, his last coach, Carl France at Fairleigh Dickinson. Sbari was not content with just being on the sidelines. He gave everything he had for a chance to get back on the court. This involved taking red-eye flights after treatment so he could join the team for early morning practices. He's a young man who overcame obstacle after obstacle and lived the ethos of hard work is not hard at all. Lost the battle with sarcoma, and that was FDU head coach Carl France. An amazing individual. You just don't know the full story of people's lives, but you see the people they influence and the impact they had on so many across the nation, and just heartbreaking to hear that story. But he lived a full life and encouraged, influenced, and really just was a fantastic person. So I know Brad in his presser night 1 of the Big West Conference tournament, Big West Men's Volleyball Championship, said some words to open up. But if you want to add on, please do share your thoughts on Cena Sbari.
Yeah, Cena is just such a great human and individual. And for some additional context, actually, he won the Wilma Rudolph Courage Award within the NCAA, which is basically facing the most adversity as an NCAA college athlete. And it was something of up to like 30 chemotherapies while playing Division I sports. And all his medical was done at UCLA. And then FDU is back in New Jersey. So flying back and forth across the country in order to get it done. And few of his best friends were a part of our program, and he would come support them. He'd be around in between chemo treatments, and just an amazing individual, faced so much adversity and through it all. And like even this past summer, he was basically a women's practice player for the women's national team, and helped me and helped out Eric within the women's national team in Anaheim, and just wanted to be around volleyball. And that was how much he loved it. And I think that was the big takeaway. And from my limited interactions and my blessings of being around him, is just someone who loved volleyball. So I think that's always the reminder. And I think if we can remember him and remember his love for volleyball and love for the people around him, we'd be doing Cena right.
All right. Thank you, Brad. Theo, welcome on. Had to come in hot. Microsoft was doing damage to you, but that's okay. You're back on.
Yeah, the service here in Cancun, a little difficult. So sorry about that.
How'd you get to pick up your whole office and move it to Cancun? That's awesome. Did you get a free badge?
That's a picture, just so you know.
That's just a background image.
The background.
Okay, it's green screen. I'm actually on the beach.
Yeah.
Coffee and some Mai Tai. Yeah.
Got it. Nice. Well done.
Well, let's go and transition to the action. I know that some of you were pretty riled up that we didn't have an episode last week, but because all the people on the screen were very active, conference calls at the same time as our normal recording time, traveling from Hawaii, Theo, we weren't able to get an episode together. I tried to get a backup episode, but it just was not enough time. But we're going to do a encapsulated elephant in the room with the results of the panelists on the screen. We're going to start with ladies first. McKendree Bearcats head coach Nickie Sanlin.
First, I am so honored to be back. So I didn't mess up last week. So I'll take it. I appreciate that, guys. Um, no, we played a lights out Ball State team. Shout out Patrick Rogers. The man could do no wrong. Apparently, the man could do no wrong all weekend. I'm looking at my team and I'm like, all right, we're hitting 370 in set three, and they're hitting 485. I I have no answer. I have no there's nothing you can do about it. Congratulations, Mike. They're super well coached. It was just a really clean volleyball from that standpoint. Like they won a transition game. They had five aces, and wasn't they were hitting rippers. It was a lot of movement on the ball, a lot of short serves, kind of a push pull. But I obviously, as we all know, like seasons end, and but it stings a little less when you lose the eventual champion, just a little less stinging. So I appreciate that. But no, shout out PR Patrick Rogers, U23 alum, MVP. He crushed it. You can't take anything away from our guys. They played hard. They fought back. This wasn't our night.
Oh. Quick comments for the McKendree and Bearcats. Anyone else?
It was a good year. You guys had a good run, and I think you're right. It stings just a little bit less that at least the team that you lost to goes on to win it all. But Patrick Rogers is a beast, and I know that the voting committees are, looking at all the players right now for Player of the Year, and he's in an elite group of company, and so hats off to them, hats off to Nickie and her crew. I know it wasn't the way you wanted to end it, but you guys had a good year, and that's the part that matters.
Thanks, Jay.
Anyone else want to jump in? If
I
not,
seen Ball State kind of peak at the right time. I'm excited to see them in the postseason as they continue. I think the piece that we'll probably talk about is Sosa was back for Loyola, and he certainly was hot against us, but I think didn't help enough to help that finals match. I mean, Ball State and Patrick, and Mike's an alumni, so congrats to him, and stepping in there, and they had a lot of those same guys returning from the year before, and I just thought they had some good mental mojo going. They were in a good headspace when they were competing. Even if they took a loss here and there, they recouped fast and really have a good shot of doing some good things. So
I didn't want to leave out Ryan Lewis either. I know we're all Patrick Rogers high, but Ryan Lewis was 11-1 on 17 in our match. He's been phenomenal all year, young guy. I'm pretty sure hasn't been playing volleyball very long, but I'm looking through the stat line again, and I'm like, man, BSL was out, and Gunther Surratt stepped up. You can't say your opposite's hitting 588. So, hats off to them.
yep. Okay. All right. Well, let's shift on over. Let's go over towards Jay's way in the EIVA realm. What you got, Jay?
The tournament looked like it was supposed to. I know that Princeton had to go up to Harvard the week prior, and they had to win both. And they did, because if they didn't win one of them, then they would not be in the tournament at all. So they were the lowest seed team going into the tournament. But when tournament play comes around, all bets are off. It doesn't matter what seed you are; it's about the damage you can do. And we beat Princeton both times we saw them earlier in the year, which doesn't guarantee us a victory, but we did have confidence going into it. And Princeton took it to us. They brought back Owen Mellon, who we knew he was going to be in there, and he's a weapon. He goes up and he hits it hard. It doesn't matter if it's on the net or if it's 15 feet off. He goes up and takes a rip, and you got to give credit to people who play like that when they're just swinging aggressively at all times. And we hiccup. We didn't play the best match of the year, and as bummed as I was for my team, The year in itself I thought was a good year for us, having 20 wins, three guys on the first team all conference selection, just lots of accolades academically and across the board. Just super, super happy for that. And we're building something here that we feel pretty confident in the years to come is going to be pretty special. But Princeton then goes on to beat the number two team in NJIT. And that's those two teams are very familiar with themselves. They play all the time, even in the fall. They play a couple times. It's a match that over the year after you play 4, 5, 6 times against each other, you'd think some people get kind of bored, but NJIT just didn't have the gas that night, and Princeton just went out and swung aggressively and played with no cares and no worries, and got into the finals against Penn State, who I thought rolled pretty easily the night prior against Charleston, and went into the match, and Sean Harvey did his thing. And I was just I know Penn State is pretty loaded across the board. The question marks for them moving forward will be who will be the setter moving into the tournament come time between her and Schwob. And I know they have two opposites in Hassel and Luoma who have been spending some time. I think Luoma and her are probably going to be the two guys that come out of the gate starting coming out. But I don't know. I'm not in the gym. I don't have any insider information. But those two seem to be the ones that connect the best. But Penn State's got some weapons, and they got into a bracket that's pretty tough with Irvine and UCLA. But Penn State could be the one team that maybe gets hot at the right time because you got a trio of guys that can put the ball away. You got a setter who is experienced, who has been on the stage before, along with some of the other guys from Penn State who obviously have. But it's no stranger to him. He's definitely been there when he was with Grand Canyon. And it'll be exciting to see that first round between that matchup of UC Irvine and Penn State, because I tend to think that I think Penn State could be the team that comes out of that match. I don't know. It depends on what UCI does, but it was a good tournament. Thanks to Penn State for hosting it. All the teams this year were worthy of being in it. It was a dogfight the entire year for a lot of the teams, and the EIVA is getting stronger. And yeah, we're not MPSF level yet, but we're working our way there, and just happy to be a part of it all.
All right, panelists, EIVA or Mason or all the above. Feel free to comment.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're getting used to Princeton doing this. I mean, I think it was a year or two back where they actually were able to get all the way to stealing the automatic in the tournament. And really doesn't matter how that team does in the regular season. They tend to perform at a really high level. And, we saw how dangerous they were earlier in the year, and specifically when they played UC San Diego. And if they find a way to keep the ball somewhat close to the net, I mean, they got the arms and they've got the pins to make it happen. And so, no shot to George Mason. I totally agree with what Jay said. I think they had a heck of a season and were able to turn some serious challenges in the beginning parts of the year with injuries and things of that nature into a ton of success. And I think Princeton is a tough team and played incredibly well. And I think anything happens when you get to that playoff series. And so I thought Jay had a great season, and hats off to Penn State with coming out of the EIVA. It's pretty big time stuff, and I think that matchup against Irvine is going to be super unique. Probably between them and then potentially the matchup between Pepperdine and Ball State. In the second round, I think those would be kind of the two matches that everybody's kind of watching and seeing what's going to happen.
Yeah,
I'm imagining Theo in his Renaissance Fair outfit right now as he's talking. I just want to point that out to everybody. I wish you had a picture that I could prop up while this conversation was happening, and he had his Ray-Bans on, like you said. I didn't know this existed in whatever century that was. So
I was gonna go without the sunglasses, but man, that just seemed like a bad idea. My eyes were not having it. Like I said, Dan, I'm on vacation.
You and me both. Well, kind of. Oh, here we go. Nice. So, I think Jay and Theo hit a lot. Congrats to Pav. Way to go out. They're playing some high level volleyball, and they're doing an article on Pav that I just read a little bit ago. It hasn't come out yet, but I mean, just phenomenal ambassador, coach, person. his family, everything. Just one of the best out there, and to see him be able to host and then go win it and make one final run at the tournament, just super happy for him and his staff, and congratulations to the Penn State program.
Yep.
Yeah, I think throughout a lot of the conference tournaments, there wasn't a ton of anything too crazy in terms of upsets or anything like too far out there. But I think Princeton definitely was one of those, like just Princeton getting hot and playing well at the right time, which seems to be par for the course, right? You want to play them early on in the season as opposed to later on in the season, as we found out all too well out here in San Diego. But yes, that was really cool to see Princeton put things together. On George Mason's side of things, like given how the season started and losing Liam French, to see Jay and the crew put together such a strong season was really, really exciting, especially looking ahead towards next year. And then Penn State, right, being the favorite, getting it done, hosting, lots of added outside pressure and noise with it being Pavs last season. So to be able to stay focused and just be able to keep playing well through a couple different setters, a couple different opposites, and really Sean Harvey and Ryan Merck kind of being the steadying forces for them throughout.
Yeah. Good calls. All right. Shall we move on? Who shall we go to? Dan Friend of Lewis.
Nickie kind of covered it. Like, we played okay. Lost to Loyola. Yeah, I don't feel better because anybody won the league, just so you know.
Hey, Dan, I gotta have some kind of solace here, but I'm not gonna try to jump in too much, but man, it was like Darth Vader, the return of Sosa, and I was like, no, no. It came, the mask comes down, and I was like, of course, this is the time that this guy comes versus Lewis. And as everybody knows out there in Volley Talk world, I'm a huge, huge fan of Dan, so I'll speak on his behalf. I have modeled my whole career here at McKendree around Dan Friend and what he does there to be spectacular. So I'll toot your horn for you, Dan.
Wow. Well, the only thing better would have been if OG would have snuck out of the back, and all of a sudden here's OG coming in. Screw you guys. Here we go. Do you know what I mean?
Dan, you're supposed to have the force. You're supposed to and hit him with the force. Come on. OG was supposed to come out.
I can see it now that one of them would have the two-edged lightsaber. The other one would come out with like a Mercedes-Benz style lightsaber, and they'd all twirl them around and spin them on the court. Like, that would have been awesome.
I thought Loyola was going to at least get a game off Ball State, but yeah, I mean, Ball State separated themselves. And I think the compliment goes to Loyola from the standpoint of they've been some injuries too. Ryan McElliott was out, Sosa was out, like their middle, the big German guy is still out. So like they put together a pretty good season and were managing those injuries and have put themselves, rightfully so, in a position to make the NCAA tournament. So it's great that there's two MPSF teams representing. And, I feel bad for Lindenwood. They had a great group and unfortunately had a couple injuries towards the end, but they had a great season as well. But yeah, Loyola, we'll see what they do. Their first round matchup is Fort Valley State, right?
St. Francis.
St. Francis, that's right. St. Francis. And then the winner of that will play Long Beach. But let's talk. Well, sometime we got to talk about Rummy. I'm stoked for Rummy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so, right before that program goes D3 and Rummy makes the dance. So how cool is that? So
yeah.
And here's the coolest piece. So the coolest piece, Rummy came out to California last year, and he was trying to play in a bunch of different gyms just to kind of mark it off on his career milestones. And I believe the Pyramid was one of the last ones but now he gets to go back and do it from the NCAA tournament perspective, which is a pretty cool feather in the cap there for a heck of a coach. And even a kid like Nathan Zinni for St. Francis, their big opposite, who had an amazing junior year. And then this last season before this year had an injury and was out for the entire season and comes back for his fifth year and to help lead St. Francis to win the NEC and get a chance to compete in the NCAA tournament is pretty cool for Rummy and Zinni and that whole crew.
Yeah, Nathan Zinni, Rummy had come to UC Irvine 2 seasons ago, and he shared the story. I don't know if I I can share it. It's not public knowledge, but he was dealing with a pretty decent medical issue. And I was just excited to see Nathan Zinni really performing and back this year because it was that heavy. So it could be a Cinderella story. I don't know. We'll see. But Rummy, one of the fun personalities to see. Maybe we should have him on the show. He's got a great perspective too, you know. So, but yeah, St. Francis, watch out. They can do it. Should we bounce on over to our two Big West coaches? Let's see who wants to go first because, for the most part, gnarly battles in the Bren. So,
Brad got further, so I'll go first.
oh,
Shots fired.
Yeah, wow, Brad, stay down.
No,
Wow.
That wasn't a
I
shot
don't think
fired.
he had shots
Yeah,
fired.
that
I
was
was,
a shot.
I was
That was a
Yeah,
compliment.
we're good.
guys.
Don't let him drive a wedge between
Yeah.
us. We're
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, man. I thought it was a compliment to Brad. Brad got further than we did. Yeah, we played Irvine in the set or the quarterfinals, I guess you'd call it. And it was a great match. I think actually all of the Big West matchups were actually quite good. Aside from the San Diego shellacking that was given to Santa Barbara. I mean, that was an absolute butt kicking. But aside from that, I think every single other matchup went to at least 4 sets and was really competitive. And we came out early. I thought Irvine got the best of us in the first set, and then I thought we'd made some fantastic adjustments. And looking at the stats, we held Darcy under 250 or 240. I think Jokanovic was under 200. I think we held Goss to under 200. And I think anytime you can do that, you're putting yourself in a position to potentially win. And we had some moments that needed to bounce our way, and we made some mistakes. Had a couple of balls that our young guys didn't go for, and and that was kind of that. Irvine is a fantastic group and played incredibly talented or I should say incredibly hard all year, and had a ton of success. And I was stoked at where our guys were at. I thought we put ourselves in a position to win, and similar to some of the coaches on camera here, but dealt with a lot of ups and downs this season, and found a way to gut some things out. And being in the Big West, there's just not a lot of room for error. And I thought our guys were really good and did some really nice things at certain points of the year, and put ourselves in positions to be successful. And Irvine was the better team and walked away from it. But moving forward and kind of down the line, I thought San Diego was playing the best ball that they've played in the tournament. Obviously, I'll let Brad talk a little bit more about that. And then watching that finals, the Big West finals might have been one of the greatest volleyball matches that we've had, especially when you look at it from the team that is down essentially fights off 5 match points in Long Beach. Should have lost the match 5 times, battles their way back, and then just puts on an absolute performance in that 5th set. Just some phenomenal volleyball across the board, and tip my hat to Nick McRae and to his group, and obviously Charlie Wade, who I think they had a great season as well. But just some great volleyball being played in the Big West, man. It's pretty awesome. It's gonna be a great NCAA tournament.
Yep. All right, everyone else, jump on in.
I'll be quick with mine. I know Theo didn't have a win in. What was your conference record?
Ofer.
I just wanted to make
Yep.
sure I didn't state that incorrectly. I know Theo didn't have a winning conference. Doesn't matter. Still a very good team. And he's right. The Big West is a tough conference, obviously. And I think when you look at it from that perspective, if you're an outsider and you go, oh, Northridge just isn't that good, that's not true. They're a very good team, and they're young. And that's the best part, because Theo proved that even though they're a young team, they figured some things out throughout the course of the year, and you could see the improvement going on. And Theo and I are similar in that thing where we're looking at next year. We're really excited because good things are coming on the horizon. So I'm absolutely confident that Theo's team next year will be an even bigger force to deal with and will not be over in the conference. I guarantee you that. Yeah, and so just exciting to watch good coaching going on. Theo is young of a coach as he is in terms of being a head coach. He knows what he's talking about, and his kids respond to him really well. So kudos to you on that season. I know it wasn't what you wanted, but you definitely earned everything that you got, and that's the best part to see.
I'll share that
Appreciate
sentiment
that,
with
Jay.
Theo. You know I'm a fan. I am a huge fan. I couldn't share that. I can't say it any better, Jay. Kudos. I'm just gonna pit right on the coattails to talk about Theo. But the Big West is a gauntlet. And obviously I have a lot of love for Jalen. He's got one more year, right?
Yes, he does. He'll be back.
Okay, that's all. Enough said. End of story.
Can I piggyback on that? Because I was courtside, and you have to be there to see what was happening. Tail end of set two, Jalen was just okay. He was only hitting 300. I say only, it's a big joke because everyone would kill to hit 300. But then something happened. I think his jet boots kicked into gear because he's defying the laws of physics, hitting the ball so high, over blocks, 6'10 Darcy, they're shifting him over to his side. Then the angles he is getting, he hit like a 3-3 angle or a 3-2 angle, it was insane. And he could not be stopped. He ended up over 20 plus kills that night. But that watching his approach in and seeing how high he's hitting the ball, finding that seam or just going over the block, you've got a weapon next year, Theo, and that's just not going to be fair. So I'll call that out right now.
Yeah, that was going to be my note on that match. Was just Jalen and we weren't watching. We were kind of getting prepped, and we'd find out like the score late in the set. We'd put it on. Jalen sees, not every ball, but felt like every ball. And then it was like, oh, that's a kill. Oh, that's a kill. He goes back to the service line. Oh, there's 2 aces in a row. And especially like just seeing him throughout the year, like offensively, he's been himself and been really good. But to see that against maybe the best passing team in Irvine and a really good passing lineup that they have to get the ace, I don't know how many aces he had, but his serving performance in that match was pretty impressive.
He kept them out of system quite a bit too. So, and one of the top passing teams in the nation.
I was real impressed there for sure.
I wanted to comment. I became a fan of Theo after he showed up on a Pella Windows advertisement at the national championship match in 2022-21, I believe it was. I'm like, wait a second. I just spin it back on the DVR. I'm like, that's Theo modeling on a Pella Windows. And I've been trying to find the picture that I captured. I can't seem to find it anymore.
I'm never going to live that one down, huh, Rob?
Never. I'm like, we got model material on the podcast now. That's
model, Renaissance man, part-time actor. Oh, and by the way, coaches volleyball pretty good. So yeah, he's okay.
And apparently his eyesight's pretty good because the rest of us all wear glasses and he's the only one that's not wearing them. So
there you go. So
we got to get on that Theo plan.
Well, we can either talk about Brad's Tritons or continue talking about Theo. Which one should we do? Brad?
Go ahead, Brad. I've had enough.
Sounds good. So we went 1-1 this past week, it was weird for us because we knew we were going to be the 4 or the 5 seed. We knew we were playing Santa Barbara, and we played them in the last regular season game in our senior night, and we ended up losing in 5. So that put us 0-2 against Santa Barbara with 2 5-set matches, and then going into the first round matchup with them at Irvine for the Big West tournament. We wanted to get a little bit of revenge for them souring and ruining our senior night festivities. We ended up playing really, really well, especially from the serving side of things. We served at a really, really elite level, and that was really promising. And that was the area that we knew we had to be good to beat them. And especially since we knew we were losing most of our matches to them due to their serving and them acing us quite a bit. So that was really nice and a good position to be in. And then kind of even like at the tail end of set 3 when we were battling back and forth with Santa Barbara, it still felt like we were going to go 5 mentally. Like I thought we were going 5 for sure. Somehow, some way they were going to find a way to scrap back into it because that's what they do. And luckily we were able to just fight it off enough and keep applying some service pressure to allow us to really be good. And I thought, we had like Josh Ewart played really well for us in the first 2 sets, along with Jim Garrison, Peter Selcho. And then in set 3 is really Sebasani, who was able to kind of take us home and get us past the finish line there to be able to get the job done in 3. And definitely did not feel like a beatdown and felt like a full out brawl there. And then the next night we had to prepare for a really strong Hawaii team that we had just seen 2 weeks ago. So yeah, our preparation for there was kind of pretty crisp, pretty clean, knew what we needed to do, and we were able to execute it at times. I thought block defense, we did really well. Our blocking, maybe one of our best blocking matches of the season, was in that semifinal match. And we did a really good job. And then just really our serve receive ended up breaking down late in set 1 and set 3. And then set 4, they made a really good adjustment and flipped to like a little reverse hybrid. Sakanoko ended up doing that. Roar was doing that a little bit too to us throughout the match, and yeah, it just caught us way off guard, and yeah, we kind of fell apart there in the 4th set. So it was a little rough ending where set 2 we were playing probably some of the best volleyball of the season, and then set 4 maybe some of the worst volleyball of the season. Slash Hawaii made some really good adjustments that we and I weren't able to adjust to quick enough. So yeah, a little bitter ending, but proud of the guys and proud of the season we were able to put together.
Yeah. Brad, you actually brought an interesting point, like Hawaii making the adjustments, because I went to the press conference for Hawaii afterwards, and Louis Sakanoko admitted, he said his spin serve wasn't working, and he went to that hybrid, and he knew to do that on the fly. He's like, you know what? I don't have it tonight. I got to do something that's going to create havoc for you guys. And he said that that was the tool, that havoc or that hybrid serve. So interesting way to catch that, though. But everyone else, please do comment.
Isn't that the match that they came up with the nickname Lollipop Louie?
Oh,
for the serving, because he wasn't doing a hybrid. A true hybrid has a little bit more speed to it. He was literally just putting it in play and making it a little short deep. And I think you see a lot of teams. The breakdown in serve receive is a big factor, and Brad nailed it on the head. His team has been so good all year long, and Sani's been a huge part of that arsenal. But their serve receive was always very strong. And when a team breaks you down there, then all of a sudden it gets a little bit tougher for you guys to put balls away. And that, I think he's right. That's probably the main reason why. But kudos to Brad. It was a good year, and he had some good matches. And that I'm just going to tag along on Theo. That beatdown of Santa Barbara. They're a team that snuck up on some people this year, and they had some matches where you're like, yeah, I'm not really sure that's the case. That's a good team. And as the season wore on, they got really, really hot at the right times. And now you look at what Brad's team did against them, and that's a statement win right there. So going up against Hawaii, no easy task. And I just give Brad all the credit. He did a nice job with his crew this year, and I'm sure they're going to be even more dangerous next year.
yeah.
Brad, you almost got me in trouble. I was sitting in bed like this, yelling at my phone, watching the Hawaii game at night. Could barely stay awake, going through my detox. But consider me like a fan, wannabe coach on the staff, yelling at my phone. So that's the love is deep there. But I couldn't agree more right there. Just getting yelled at by my future husband to stop watching volleyball. The season's over. So
Just say that's part of the package, Nickie. There are others that'll jump on in.
He loves Jorge. Jorge's one of his favorite people, so I always have to defer and be like, I'm watching Jorge. Duh. Like, oh, okay, fine. No, but I will piggyback on the volleyball aspect of it of going from playing Santa Barbara, like what is it, the week before or 2 weeks before to come back, and I'm trying to think of another word since people keep saying beat down. Or did somebody say the Santa Barbara shellacking? Is that an alliteration I can use? I don't know how this works. But kudos to you guys. They're a tough team. It's been fun to watch. Fun to watch the unorthodox lineup. It's not unorthodox. You have 3 great pin hitters on the court, but every guy sitting here is just amazing to watch as a fan, as a friend, and so it's hats off to everybody in the group here. So congrats, Brad.
Thanks. And for the record, the beatdown shellacking thing is all those Santa Barbara guys are back next year, so it was not that. We don't need to be firing them
Santa
up.
Barbara guys.
Well,
It was
now.
Brad and Theo saying all that stuff, just so you know. Okay.
Hey,
Poking the bear.
I'm just piggybacking on everybody else. I'm the third person.
Come on.
I don't
And
know.
you know what, Santa Rick Jay wants you on his schedule.
Me and Lorley were actually watching that match together as well, Nickie, but we were on the couch watching it. I did think Brad's group served phenomenal. Santa Barbara had some plays. Santa Barbara was playing well at times, and so But great win in that round and good battle in the next one, Brad, I think. And then ultimately, I'm sure we'll talk about the Hawaii Long Beach final, which was phenomenal. Do you know what I mean in terms of that? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, great season, Brad. Good job.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't know, like,
the one thing I
but
want to bring up, Rob, real quick, is just the emergence of Worrell, right? Like obviously Brad makes a setter change, I don't know, maybe 5, 6 games, 6 matches ago or so, and just watching him kind of come into his own, and obviously one of the things that maybe some of the listeners don't know, but when we're in conference tournaments, it's actually one of the only exceptions for NCAA Division I where you can watch your opponents in person, which is really kind of cool. And so at the Big West tournament, they set up specific scout locations for the coaching staffs. And so part of the reason why I was calling that match a shellacking is I got to watch it in person, right? Got to actually be there. And when you feel kind of the energy of the way things change, there definitely is a difference versus seeing it on video. And but anyways, little tidbit rule there. We're not normally allowed to watch in person. So there you have that. But the emergence of Worrell and really, I mean, Brad, your tall setter who really, I mean, I think had a huge impact on that match. And obviously he played against them in your guys' loss in 5 at your place. But you guys served incredibly tough, but he kept a lot of balls that were really interesting and really difficult to get to. He kept you guys from overpassing and/or putting a ton of pressure on Santa Barbara. And it just felt as if every time they made a play to come back, you guys just kept the pressure on and took it to them. So, yeah, kudos to your setter. I thought he played incredibly well.
just a side note, Josh Nakoba of Bowl Media and Fifth Set, his new publication venture, which is going to start covering more collegiate men's volleyball, got to ask Cameron Worrell a question in the presser afterwards, after their win against Santa Barbara. And I asked, were you sticking to Brad's plan for the night, or did you go rogue because he had 7 kills on 0 with 0 errors on 10 swings? He goes, yeah, I did it, but I'm 6'7", and then Nakoba cut it and did a 6'7" edit all over the place. And I'm usually tired of that, but I have to admit that one is pretty darn funny. So, but I know we've only, if people have to jump off, we still have a lot to talk about. We haven't even talked about the MPSF, and a lot happened in the MPSF where some unexpected results, and we still talk about the bracket unveil and the location. So I'm
Well,
going to
hey,
say
you
this
only
now.
get me for 18 more minutes. So if you guys get to something you want to ask, I'm off at 11. So
Okay, that's why I want to be clear. If you got to drop off, drop off. I don't think we're going to get to everything. So let's see. With that, let's do MPSF. Then we're gonna say drill the committee member segment right after.
I think with the
I,
MPSF, the most important thing to talk about was the USC win over Pepperdine. Right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, UCLA ends up beating USC in 4 sets in the championship, but I think that USC win over Pepperdine is what, I mean, Dan can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that made the job in life a heck of a lot easier for the selection committee, kind of finalizing that and securing, I don't know if you'd say the last at-large bid, but I think that was really the difference maker there with, especially with USC's blocking in that match really kind of set them apart. So I think that was probably the most pivotal one when we're looking at the NCAA tournament.
Well, without the tournament expansion, the question that I'd have is, does SC get in? Last year, do they get in or do they get left off? After that upset win, they'd be in a position where somebody's getting left at home. Really interesting.
well, that begs the question of how much emphasis do you put on the tournament play versus regular season play, which is always the topic of conversation amongst everybody who talks about brackets and how they're set up. And I had a conversation with our favorite assistant coach, Ryan Rock Perrott, yesterday, and he said that conference tournaments don't matter. It should only be the regular season. And I disagree with that vehemently. I think it matters for seeding, obviously, and for hosting and all those things for the tournaments or conferences that do it that way. But your conference play matters. You look at Princeton for that matter. I mean, they got hot at the right moment. They should be a team that's in a conversation, not necessarily for an at-large, but as one of the teams that over the year did a great job of getting hot when they're supposed to. But I think conference play matters, but I think tournament play matters more. And right now, you're right, Theo. If this were last year, and Dan's the person to ask right now, if this were last year, does SC get in over Pepperdine based on that result?
I don't know.
Yes.
Well, I mean, we're not gonna answer that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
Wait, we want to drill you, Dan. Let us drill you with these.
you guys could drill away, but like, I don't know if I'd have to look at all last year's metrics.
Yeah, no,
I just remember what happened with Irvine and remember it so clearly, right? That team obviously gets left home last year. And I feel like SC is kind of in a similar conversation. Obviously, they had some scheduling stuff go awry, and Pepperdine didn't have a perfect year either, right? Losing to Santa Barbara, and they had some issues that took place. But somebody's getting left off. I mean, there are only so many spots before.
I'm glad we got more spots this year because there have been some teams that are really good that wouldn't have been in. I think that's the thing to say. You talk about the at-larges. There were 5 of them total. You would only had 2. So 3 of the teams that are out of those wouldn't be there, and that would be really unfortunate. You could say SC or whoever else you want to say could have been possibly in that space. So
yeah. So it's interesting, and then with USC defeating Pepperdine and even the finals match against UCLA, Dylan Klein was pretty much contained, but he found ways to contribute otherwise. Sterling Foley, Parker Tompkinson, and Wes Smith, the 2 middles, really stepped it up. But man, Dylan Klein just finds a way to get his team to win. He doesn't have to have that offensive number, but man, every time I watch, there's clutch kill, big blast, 2 off the block, but his passing was pretty good, and USC was able to get it done. And USC did change up their setting. It looked like they opt to go with Sprague or another setter instead of sticking with Blanchetta.
Chapin.
Yes, Chapin. That's the name. Yeah.
Yeah. So Kid was a little spark plug. Well, that the USC UCLA match, Dylan Klein only hit 167. Foley hit 438, which was awesome, but Keene hit 0. And in that match, here's the scary part. USC was leading in most categories. It led in the hitting percentage, it led in kills, it led, I believe, in aces, it led in overall points scored. If they could get just a little bit more production from their right side, I think that could definitely alleviate some of that pressure. The 2 middles are ridiculous. They are so high in the air when they make that contact. And I thought their connection with Chapin was a little bit stronger than with the previous setter. But if USC could get just a little bit of help there, because all those games were deuce games nearly. I think the exception of 1.
Yep.
That's a
pretty
like
25-22 in that one.
Yeah. And does playing on the neutral site, is that the reason? Is it the reason that, USC made that setter change? We're not going to know. But it was a really good performance by USC. They just need a little bit of help from some other players. And all of a sudden, because Dylan Klein's great. He's in the conversation for player of the year, rightfully so. But man, oh man, what a match. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. All right. Any more questions for our committee member? We want to get it in before he has to jump off the screen here.
Yeah, are you thinking about something else, Rob? Because you're like, let's get it in. Let's drill Dan. Like, what's
We're
going
a family-friendly
on,
show, Jay. Family-friendly.
What are you talking about? What are you watching in the background, man? You're just killing me.
We've only got Dan for 12 more minutes. I know there's so much. I was looking through the notes going, there is so much we can pull from all this because there was so many exciting results and some great performances that happened. But, with for instance, Long Beach State, Jackson Chris ace in the second, was it the second set? They were battling and the entire Bren was on its feet. It was rumbling in the venue and he knocks off right off the end line, big serve. And that's one story that, Jackson Chris, I remember seeing him 3 years ago at Sage Hill School in the CIF Southern Section Finals, like, wow, that's a Long Beach recruit because he was really raw. And then he represented the USA this last summer and he had this wicked spin serve and was an amazing middle. And to see him playing on Saturday night, that talked about the quickest transformation of skills and talent. He got my vote. He was playing incredibly well. Not a big offensive contributor, 7 kills, but the 3 aces were huge and he got 7 blocks of his own. So, there were so many little storylines there. Justin Todd being lost early on against, I believe, San Diego. Is that correct? In the first set, that's another good player who's not the big numbers getter for Hawaii, but he is a clutch performer. So many things. And those are just the ones I can put my 100% attention to. I'm watching with 4 other screens courtside in the brand, the other tournaments. So craziness.
Yeah.
May Madness, and it's still April. So
I will say of all the years, as far as the selections and the schools that ended up getting picked, I thought this was the easiest one to make, right, for the committee. At least going into it, I think if you asked anybody, this is how it would have shaped up. And the question that I have for Dan before he departs us is, was that the case? And how do you compare it to years previous?
5-minute Zoom calls, all was, right, Dan?
No, because what you have to put in perspective is that first time we've expanded the bracket to 12. So there's all these things that you're not normally possibly thinking of that come up in conversation topics. Talk about seating, talk about who's hosting, talk about all the things that did come up. So it became a little bit more taxing in that sense. And there was still, certainly there wasn't in these couple upsets, so that you're right in the sense of like, hey, there wasn't these couple upsets, so those were a little bit cleaner, but it doesn't make it any easier when you get down to the end and you're between 2 or 3 teams and you're trying to make the best choice with the data and all the stuff you have in front of you. So I think that's always going to be a challenge, whoever sits on the committee from that standpoint. But we had a little bit more going on us because of the new regional sites, of the new at-larges that were in it. So there was, and we meet once a week for probably over the past 8 weeks. Do you know what I mean? And so people think this is, hey, we just get on one time. That's not how it goes. Do you know what I mean? And so we're trying to, put ourselves in a position so that when you do have that call at midnight on Saturday, and then we got back on another call Sunday morning, that we're doing our due diligence in terms of as much as we can. Do you know what I mean? From that standpoint. So,
I love how Theo he says it was easy for this group.
It was.
So
it was.
Well, let's put it this way. I want to give 2 shouts out here to Dan and the committee, because I thought you guys did a great job. I think the right teams are in. I think the brackets are the right brackets. I mean, could you argue one here, one there? Sure, but I think it is really, really well put together. I also want to give kudos to you guys for giving Hawaii a chance to host one this year.
Yes.
Hawaii has been notorious for being snubbed when it comes to the championships or when it comes to hosting, Final Fours, whatever the case is, tournaments. And they've been snubbed over the years. Congrats to them, because now they get a chance to cheer their team on to get to the Final Four, and I think that's awesome. But yeah, I echo the sentiments, I think, of a lot of people around the country. It's a great bracket. The right teams are in the right spots, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, Dan, I wanted to ask this of you as well, because you had an additional factor to consider because graduations were happening at certain home site venues. So what was that process like? Did they have to put an alternate location on their bid to host, or
nobody has to. So everybody had the opportunity to bid, and the bid was open to a certain point. I do think you saw a couple places because of graduation. So Ball State gives an example that they found an alternate site. The arena that it's going to be hosted in is a G League arena, and it's super nice, fairly brand new, and right outside of Indianapolis. So excited about being in that space in that area from that standpoint. And so they had to do a lot of work in the background. So, but yeah, there was probably 10 to 12 bids that were put in from teams that had the possibility to host, depending on, where they were seated at and where things were going at from that standpoint. So.
Well, it's the Riverview Health Arena in Noblesville, Indiana. Did a little background check, but the name of the G League team that's there should be a volleyball team. The Noblesville Boom.
Oh.
I'm going to get a hat just because it looks cool. So, but yeah, great work by the committee. And, do we want to keep drilling the committee members, start talking about the matchups?
Let's do your hot questions.
Oh, okay. Well, let's set the committee member. He's a little ornery right now because he's got to jump off. So we're doing hot take. We're going to jump around here. Sorry for all you people who want timestamps, but this way it rolls this week. And we're lucky to get these wonderful guests on. Hot take question number one. What was your first reaction when the bracket dropped? Ladies first, Nickie.
The appearance of Set the Bick, John Montgomery.
There we
Face
go.
mask off. That was a big shock, but otherwise, like I think I'm not surprised. None of it was a surprise. There was no mic drop moment for who was in. I definitely know the Pepperdine Southern California match was kind of a catalyst because I know they were on the first two out bubble, but there was no surprises there for me. The seating was pretty cool to see the locations, but Set the Bick, love to see your face. Now we know who you are.
All right. Brad, you're up next. Jay last, as always.
Yeah, I think everything was right. I think it was cool. Like we touched on, Hawaii gets the host. I thought they earned that with the performance this season that they had. I thought those were the 4 teams that should be hosting. The fact Ball State was able to pull it off-site to get to host, because I think it was graduation or could have been something else. So it was all it made a lot of sense, which I think most of the time after a selection show, you're thinking people should be pissed off or someone should feel snubbed, but I think it was all pretty accurate.
Dan, can you do a hot take since you are on the committee?
Theo said it was easy. That was my hot take. Anyway, my hot take would be like, great job, committee. You guys did awesome.
See you in LA.
That's how I felt. I felt for the first time in, I don't know, the entire time I've been around men's volleyball. Like, this was one of the first times where I felt like this looked acceptable, right? We've talked about here for a long time about the expansion of the bracket and where things should be. I still feel like it could be bigger, but this is the first time that this looks like something worth watching. You've got a lot of really talented teams in the group. You've got a lot of deserving teams that are here. The committee absolutely got it right, and it was easy. Great job, fellas. Great work. Really, really proud of the work you did here, Dan.
Because it was easy, Theo. It was easy. That's why it was such great work.
Maybe it wasn't easy from the hosting perspective, but I really didn't feel like they missed any teams that were deserving of the spots that were available. They got everybody right. And I thought that's the job. Well done, man. Well done.
All right. Close out with the author.
This just in, the committee actually just input all the names into ChatGPT, and they spit it out like this. So while they were all having a steak dinner and martinis, ChatGPT did all the work. No, I echo everybody's sentiment. This is, for the first time in a long time, I'm not hearing the rumblings of everybody going, "Whoa, this sucks. This team got screwed and that team got screwed." No, they got the right teams in this year. And I called it earlier in the year that the Big West would get to. I called that MPSF would get to. I also called that the MIVA would get to, and that worked out the way I thought it would. So congrats to the committee, a relatively clear conscience, so to speak, and not having to worry about everybody hammering you for all the work you did. So that's my thought.
Well, side note for the committee, I actually posted the selection show and polled people, and close to 9 out of 10 said it was the right selection. So and that was a lot of people taking that. So
thanks, ChatGPT.
Why it's so easy? 5-minute Zoom and ChatGPT.
Hey, well, I think this is a good time to shout out too. Matt Houlihan built a bracket, and a bracket can be filled out. You know, obviously we've been doing it here on this podcast for years. Jay has been responsible. Now we've got an electronic version, and volleyballrankings.com. So great job, Matt Houlihan.
Matt Houlihan, a little help for next year. Put the tournament brackets for each of the conferences as the start of it all, so it's a much bigger bracket, and we could fill that thing up with 40 teams or so. It'd be really, really fun to watch. 40 plus teams, maybe 50 teams, and it could be a really, really large bracket getting through all the tournaments. So that's a great job by you, Matt. Absolutely fantastic and fun.
That an interim assistant coach at Stanford. So we'll let it slide this year, Matt. I mean, you didn't have enough responsibilities. So
well, he's going to have enough coffee. I'm sure everybody's been donating a coffee to him for doing all this work. That was a button you could push on his app, but that's really, really cool thing to do. So
I love how as soon as his season ended, by the way, he immediately comes on social media and he's like, I got so many things to say. Here's all the things that I'm going to throw out now that I'm officially out.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right, question number 2. Who is the most dangerous high seed? Nickie.
Hey, Meva love Ball State. I hope people aren't out there sleeping on them. I obviously know everyone's super talented. It was a very exciting match earlier this year at the First Point Challenge with the UCLA Ball State match. But I'm gonna roll with the guys representing the Midwest. You know, they're running high. They're playing clean volleyball. I think there's a big misconception out there with the masses that there's no rallies. Those boys can play. They can rally, and I'm excited to see what this is going to turn out for them representing our conference.
All right, Brad, same to you. Dangerous high
Boy.
seed.
I'll go with the I think Irvine. I think Irvine's going to be dangerous here. They can serve and pass really, really well. And there's always something when Irvine and UCLA play, always some weird things happen. NIF does some things you don't expect, and they always seem to put UCLA in a tough spot. So I'm going UC Irvine.
All right, Dan.
No comment.
Aren't you the one who requested this segment, Dan?
I wanted to hear it so I don't have to get on later. Do you know what I mean? And so this is great. And I did answer the first question. What are you talking about? Do you know what I mean?
Let's go to Theo. Oh, are you going to answer? Or are you going to take the fifth?
I'm not pleading the fifth. I'm just, I mean, UCLA is hosting, and they're the number 1 seed. Like, I don't know.
That's not a high seed, though. That's a low seed.
So, what?
Plus, I did it. I did it, Jay. Come on. It was easy. All right, Theo.
Yeah, I mean, outside of UCLA, I think it's Long Beach. I think Long Beach is playing some really great ball right now. And obviously watching them fend off the victory that they were able to accomplish in the Bren was pretty darn impressive. And I don't know that it's something that team would have accomplished 4 or 5 weeks ago. Where they're playing right now is it's a different level. So I think they definitely got a shot.
But did I misunderstand the question?
No,
to say a high
Brad.
seed.
No, Brad, you understood it correctly because I'm going to go right now and I'm going to give kudos to Brad and Nickie because they understood the question. You guys picked some
didn't Nickie
high
say Ball
seed.
State?
Whereas it's a higher seed than the top 2 teams like you picked. I mean, come on.
Nickie said Ball State. That's the same.
Come on.
Long Beach.
You two schmoes just went the easy route and picked who you think are the best teams, which we can discuss that later on. So,
hey, you are correct. You know what? Apologize. I'm going to go with Pep.
Okay. There is a not a dark horse, but a team that has to play a little bit more volleyball. So good for you, Dan. But Theo, poo-poo on that. All right. So
listen, I know how this is going to play out, guys.
Hey, no, you don't. No, you don't.
I'm not saying Port Valley. I love Larry Rather. He's not winning.
You picked Secretariat. That's not a high seed. That's not how this works.
Hey,
right.
I got a hot take. Dan, what was the year that you played USC in the final, or like in the NCAA tournament, and you played Hawaii next with Mitchum and Coonan?
2021.
That was actually with it was 2019. Julian and Mitch Perinar was still playing, and
So here's my hot take is that I had an argument with a colleague. They're like, Lewis is out, no one's got anything, and I was like, you're sleeping on the Midwest and the Midwest grit, and USC ain't ready for this smoke. And guess what? I was right. I'm going to do what the kids do. Come on. So people are out here sleeping on Ball State in this Midwest grit. And I was riding that argument till the cows came home in 2019. And I was like, Nygaard, I love you, Gary, all you guys, but got to roll with the Midwest grit. I'm just saying.
All right.
My last comment is I am super excited about the quarterfinal matches in every region.
Yeah.
Like and that's why the times are staggered. If you guys noticed. Like we purposely tried to stagger the times, and it was like, because you're going to have some great volleyball back to back to back. So, but you guys are great. I'm gone. So we'll see you guys.
Dan.
Bye, Dan.
I can talk behind his back. Awesome.
Right.
Now, Rob, I didn't say I liked you. I like all these guys. I mean, so go do your beach stuff, and I'm sure I'll see you there somewhere. Okay, all right.
Sounds good.
I'm getting
Rob,
salty. All right, let me get to my picks, damn it. All right, here we go.
Wait, before you go though, are we also including the Big Ten rankings? Because I have Florida in there too.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, there we go. And if you don't know what we're
Oklahoma.
talking
I think
about,
Oklahoma's in there. Yeah, they're
yep.
getting all kinds of those. Who the
Arkansas,
hell?
Arizona State.
Oh,
SC
Jesus.
twice.
Who?
Twice.
Yeah, I don't.
In
Don't
the
get
top
me
20 has
started.
24 teams.
Rile me up later on. I don't want to get all angry. All right, so I hear the UCI thing because UCI is one of the best passing teams in the country, and that is going to be necessary against a Penn State team that has some weapons. But somebody else said, yeah, Ball State. I agree with that one too. They could be the
Yep.
team that gets past a couple of rounds and all of a sudden is maybe in the semifinals and maybe in the finals. But I'm going to go with an even darker horse, and that is Southern California, USC. And here's why. USC has got one of the most dynamic outside hitters in the country in Dylan Klein. Arguably two of the best middle blockers in the country in Wesley Smith and Tompkinson. I like Chapin as the setter more than I like the other setter. And I forgot his name. So
Blanchett.
Blanchett, thank you. I think Chapin's actually a better competitor, and I like him. They got Dykstra, who's a really good libero. If they could get a little bit of production from their right side, because they are playing against Belmont Abbey first. And listen, Belmont Abbey, love you. You're not going to get past USC. But then they're going to face Ball State. I'm sorry, they're going to face Hawaii in Hawaii. And that was a matchup that was supposed to happen earlier in the year.
The
And
NIL.
and there is something to be said about being the underdog in Hawaii. Sometimes that's the better spot to be in because, the crowd's going to root for good volleyball in general. Yes, they're going to root for their bows, but they like good volleyball. And USC, if they could just get hot at that right moment, could be the team that takes one from Hawaii. I'm not saying they're going to. I'm just saying it could be. So there's my dark horse, my high seed danger pick.
There you go. All right. And with that we're only on question number 3, and it's too bad Dan isn't here for this one. Should the committee use more data or human eye tests to make their seating decisions?
I think it's good that he's not here. I think it's good that he's not here for this question.
All right, Nickie, fire off. You're first.
I'm going statistical data. That's like, there's so much room for error with human eye test. I think there should be some factor in it. So I'm not saying it's all 100% statistical driven, but so when I think about I'm a poll voter, everybody's got their own little bias of like, oh, I'm going to play George Mason this week, so I'm going to bump him up 3 spots, and then I'm going to do this, and then it looks good for our conference and our strength of schedule. I think there's, as much as I try to be unbiased, it's impossible. So statistical driven data, top, and then when it's coming back towards discussions of this and that person, human eye test. So a little bit of both.
Yep. All right.
It's got to be both. Both numbers get you kind of in the ballpark, and then you kind of use your eye test to take you home and confirm.
All right, Theo.
Yeah, I agree. I think stats kind of line it up and get us in the ballpark. They get us in the realm. But the especially the eye test of what have you done recently has got to matter, right? And you want to put the best teams that are currently playing the best ball. And in order to do that, you have to understand where the recent injuries, did they lose a really prominent player in the roster? And I think those all come back to eye test and where that team is currently playing.
Yeah. And Jay.
So first of all, Nickie, we played a lot of teams this year. Nobody bumped us up in the rankings. We got no love the entire year, which it is what it is. I don't care about that. And I'm on that committee, and I definitely can understand what you're talking about. I'm gonna give my point, and then I want to make a point for the future. Has anybody here put in the teams with their Massey ratings and their KPIs and RPIs into an AI, into a ChatGPT or something to see where they would have fallen? And was it correct? I would be interested to see that because now we know the teams. Would it be correct in where they're seated and where they're facing? But I agree with you. Umpires in baseball used to be the argument from all the fans when there were bad strikes and balls called, when there's bad plays called as an out or safe. And they gave the fans something to yell and scream at other than the actual reality of what the truth is. And since we have challenge replay now, I think we could all agree we want the right call. We don't want to have to deal with all the BS of the human eye test because the game has moved on past that. That being said, I also would agree with you all that I think the numbers should be something that most weight is put on. But the human eye test, watching how teams dig in, watching how teams respond, watching how teams deal with injuries or deal with, strategy changes, all of those things, that is an eye test that I think AI couldn't catch. And so I think you put a little bit of emphasis on that to maybe put the cherry on top. But here's where I want to go with this. And I know we've been here forever, but this is a really important one. Can we come up with a ranking system that eliminates maybe the coaches doing it? And what do I mean by that? If you do it something like what European soccer does or what hockey does, or even what international volleyball does with points. So, for example, if you win 10 matches and all 10 matches are on the road and you win all 10 matches, or I'm sorry, you lose all 10 matches in 5, and then you have another team that wins 10 matches, but they're all at home in 3. Does that mean that they're on opposite ends of the spectrum because one's 10-0 and one's 0-10? No. You should get some points for going 5 in foreign territories, right? It doesn't mean you're automatically number 2, but I think you could do something where you look at teams that on the road versus at home, how many sets, what were the scores, what were the teams ranked in their RPI or whatever when they played them. You could put all those factors in and create a point system that I think could be something that we could use for rankings in the future. We have the ability to do it. We just have to create a structure, a framework that would work. And I think that could help alleviate some of this stuff.
So Jay, fun fact, I did this on ChatGPT while you were talking.
Yes.
Okay, so this is not including AQs. This is just 1 through 12. Okay. So 1, 2, and 3 are UCLA, Hawaii, Long Beach State. That's 1, 2, and 3.
Nice.
With RPI. This is RPI, Massey, AVCA, VBello, everything included. 4, Irvine. 5, PEP. 6, SC. 7, BYU. 8, Ball State. 9, Loyola. 10, UC San Diego. 11, UC Santa Barbara. 12, Lindenwood. The teams who are outside the bubble: McKendree, Lewis, Penn State, Ohio State, and JIT.
Interesting.
Now that's the way the tournament should be.
Yeah.
It would now be interesting, Nickie, is if you put in the AQ teams and the teams that got the at-larges and see where they are seated and who would be hosting where, or not hosting, but who would be playing who, to see if the committee got it right compared to that. But yeah, I mean, that's if you take those and just make them rankings, and I would eliminate the AVCA ranking because again, it's human versus just numbers, right? It's data. And you're right. There are a lot of coaches that are very biased. Some coaches don't even know what teams are west or east of the Mississippi, even if they have great years. They never get rankings, and I discard those people completely. But it would be interesting to see what would go on. So I like that. I like that because I think in the RPI or the KPI, I think we're 18th.
Here's my note on the numbers, and like numbers are great, but numbers are inherently have some bias within them too, right? Because why are there 2 different numbers? What determines it? Where does the value for those numbers come through? And I think that's something that's always really important to keep in mind. So like, right, the power behind the numbers come through whoever's generating those systems within it. It does become a lot more consistent than just me being mad at Jay and voting George Mason down, or me playing Jay the next week and wanting to pump up their numbers, right? So that's where it becomes really valuable, is you have that consistency and a less biased lens, but there still is going to be some biases within those numbers, right? And because if it was perfect, we would have just stuck with the old school RPI, it's where there's then the KPI. And then like, what values are we putting into it, right? If you win a game in the last month of the season, that's valued at 75%, where you win a game in January, that's valued at 25%. When in reality, those are just arbitrary numbers that we've aligned to it because like it makes sense to us as coaches, right? So I think that's one piece where it's like you got to have that balance between both, because those numbers are ultimately just what's been programmed into that by the person who set up that rating system.
Yeah.
So, Nickie, I also ran it just to see if I got the same thing. And essentially, it says there are only 3 teams that are in the cluster. So, what the team that was missed, it said, is BYU. And the 3 teams that are in a cluster that are right below that is San Diego, Santa Barbara, and Ohio State. They said everything else, it seems as if the committee did it right and there were no snubs.
Wow. And for our listeners and viewers, no, we weren't paid to say this on the episode today. In fact, we want to throw salt at people if we can, and we can now.
I actually got a Venmo from Dan for the kind words.
All I know is this: talk to your AIs and all your Alexas and all your whatever nicely, because they're going to run the world one day. I talk very nicely to mine. I say please, I say thank you, and it responds to me, because when the machines take over, they're going to remember this guy being super nice. I'm just saying.
Hey, my staff calls me Mrs. GPT. It's fine.
Yeah. Cyberdyne Systems is coming after us. And
That's right. That's right.
All right. Final question of the hot take, or Jay's quick hits. Who is your Final Four sleeper? Nickie.
Jay, can you clarify what you mean by that, please?
Is it the same
I don't
question?
want to get this wrong.
I was like, it's kind of the same question. I want more clarity here.
Yeah, no. It was a question that I drew up that I when I sent it, I was like, it's kind of similar to the last one. In the Final Four, the least likely team to be in the Final Four.
Ball State. Ball State. Nobody's expecting them to be there. I'm going to ride this train home. You know,
All right.
who is that? Who's their side of the bracket again? It's them, Pep.
UCLA, Irvine, Penn State.
No, they Pepperdine, Fort Valley.
Okay.
And then they go UCLA, Irvine, or Penn State.
I want to shout out to my Waves bros. I love them. Luke Reynolds, Pollock, Kraft, Winder. But rolling with the dark horse, you know, I think it's tough. We saw again, it was early on in the season at the first point challenge. They had a really pretty solid performance versus UCLA, even though they lost in 4. And I just think they're peaking at the right moment. Sorry, Dan's not here. That Lewis kind of shook him, beat him in 5, and now it's the revenge tour.
All right, Brad.
Yeah, I think I think the Ball State Pepperdine matchup's really exciting. You got Hartke versus Rogers. Like, I think that's going to be a really cool, exciting matchup to see. Then you think about Hawaii, you got, Tread Rosenthal going up and blocking, and whatever opposite Hawaii throws out to Tritsky or Wade going up and blocking against Foley and Klein for USC. Like, that's going to be an awesome matchup. And then you got the Long Beach outside hitters going up against Sosa and McElliott. I think that's going to be a really good matchup too. I already talked about the UCLA Irvine. So I'm going to go for my sleeper. I think it's a team that has been really good all year long and hasn't really been getting much love. I'm going to say Hawaii is the sleeper. Like, we've seen them 5 times now, including our fall, and they're just really good volleyball players. They serve well. They play really steady. They block well. And maybe it's I just got that 4 set on my mind. But yeah, I'm going to go Hawaii here. Since we haven't talked about them much, I'll identify them as a sleeper.
All right. Theo.
I think the Malibu Blocking Company takes it to Ball State.
Malibu Roofing Company.
Oh, that's what it is. Roofing Company. Thank you for clarifying. The Malibu Roofing Company takes it to Ball State. Pepperdine makes it to the Final Four.
All right. And Jay.
Really, really good calls, all of you. I'm going to stick with USC. I think they're a dark horse that could, at the right moments, figure things out and stun a couple of people. There's just something about that team. I know they're not pretty to watch at times. I know Nygaard makes some decisions here and there you kind of question. I know that they're a team that people don't like because of the name on the front. I don't care. I just feel like there's something about them at this moment. You're like, man, they could get hot at the right moment. So
Jay,
that's my
maybe it's the
sleeper.
2 7-foot middles.
Listen, 7-foot middles, none of us can coach that. There's nobody in the country that can coach that. And they're both really good. And that's dangerous.
Nobody said anything about the middles went 26-2 on like 37 versus Pepperdine.
Yeah.
People
Well,
forgot that was there. I was like, wow, all right.
Yeah.
and again, they lost in 4 to UCLA, but 3 of them were deuce sets and one of them was 3 points, not 2. And that's not easy to do. And so I'm
Well,
wondering
and
if they're
Clyde didn't play well. Like, is that going to happen again?
right.
I
Exactly.
wouldn't. I think it's a great bet, Jay. It's a great
So
bet.
that's just my call. That's just my call. I like Hawaii's chances. I just USC for some reason sticks out to me as the one that you're like, didn't expect it. Here we are.
Yeah. Well, with that, that's the final of Jay's quick hits or hot takes. I usually we go to what you're watching, but we're watching everything. Let's just be real. But we can pick our player performers, or our ballers of the last, we'll say, 10 days or so. So not
I
really
will
of
go
the week.
last.
All right. Nickie, you still want to go first?
Yeah. I'm gonna say let the big dogs eat. Co-player performances of Wes Smith and Parker Tompkinson. It is impressive to watch the big men move. Again, another U23 alum, Wes Smith. The kid was not healthy, you know, built like, like Hercules, the cartoon. That's what the kid's built like. And probably has a heart of gold just like it is the same. But that's impressive to watch. I watched it back on Volleymetrics, and they were just putting on a clinic. So,
Yep.
and Parker Tompkinson is one of the most natural blockers I've seen, and the kid just has he. I feel like I'm dating myself. He's got the glow. Show enough. Anybody?
Soul
No.
Glow.
Well, and here's the thing. He grew up in a household of volleyball players. It's almost like he knew what he was doing.
Maybe.
All
His
right.
dad, shout out to his dad, Andy Tompkinson, who I coached with back in the day in club, got to know really well. Super, super great guy. I saw Parker when he was born, and he was already 6 feet when he came out of the womb. So
All right, Brad, who's your
I'll
ballers of the week?
go. I don't know how Nickie didn't take this one. I got Pat Rogers, but I got Pat Rogers as a server and Pat Rogers as a blocker. He had a phenomenal one-armed block on Fabakovic in Loyola's rotation 1 late in the 3rd set. That really kind of felt like it sealed the match from a momentum perspective and had big serves throughout that match. So Pat Rogers, and I got to jump. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy some amazing
Brad.
volleyball.
Hey, I've already been giving Ball State all the smoke, so I got to pick somebody else. They've already got a lot of love for me today.
All right, that leaves Theo.
Yeah, I'm taking Trevor Clark in our matchup between us and Irvine. I think he was the difference maker. We couldn't stop him. He hit 556, had 12 kills on 18 swings, and was very, just casual in the process too. Like, wasn't really talking trash, wasn't saying anything, just getting up, hitting the ball over the block, and turning around, celebrating with his group, and it was pretty impressive.
Yeah. Well, since Dan and Brad had to jump off, I'm going to throw down 2 of them, but I have to do the ones I saw in person. But the guys that got it.
No, you
What?
don't get to go.
Oh, come on, Jay, come on.
All right, fine.
I got to give Libro love because Quentin Greenidge of Hawaii and Kellen Larson of Long Beach, they put on a show and they just got overlooked. You got to understand, these guys are bombing away from the service line, from the attack line, from the back row. And these guys are getting junk going different directions off of blocks. They're still getting these things up. They're getting pancakes. They're getting, forearm shiver digs. They're doing everything and they're getting ignored. So I'm not going to ignore you 2 guys. Great final in the Big West. So you're going to get my call.
That should be something that somebody puts on a Libero social media post. I'm going to IHOP. I'm getting pancakes.
I'm going to thank you.
All right. I got 2. Gajek Wojcik. I think I said it right. I don't know if I did or not. For Long Beach State, kid hit 489 in that match against Hawaii in the championship match for the Big West. I know that there are a lot of unhappy fans, and we could discuss it briefly after this, who are unhappy about his whole thing with the shock it down and the crowd and all that stuff. I know there's a lot of pissed off people about that. I'm going to go with somebody that got a little mention here earlier, but maybe should get a little bit more love and gets my vote for player of the week. That's Matt Houlihan for putting together the brackets. Come on, Matt. That's awesome. Good for you for doing something that we've all talked about for years and made it accessible. If you go on to that app, there's like over 1,000 people that have been on there already making their picks. Love that there's coaches on there because it's free. We're not gambling. We're just putting together a thing. It's fun. It's harmless. And just really, really cool to see. So Matt Houlihan getting a little love from me today.
I'll put that on the description. It's on volleyballrankings.com, correct? Because I think you guys sent me your bracket and I'm looking at it right now. Ooh,
Yeah,
deal.
it's really, really cool. I think it's awesome. And we should get more people involved with things like that. So
I'll throw it on
good on you, Matt, for putting that together.
All right. Any other things you want to depart in our last? Well, this is our championship episode. We'll probably have a championship recap. But any last thoughts before we close out our almost hour and a half episode?
So let's talk a little bit briefly about this Wojciech gesture
Gaia.
that he made to the crowd. And I understand that Hawaiian fans are taking it personally because they feel that it's a diss to them. And it is. Let's call a spade a spade. It is an absolute diss. But we see it all the time going on in basketball. We see it all the time in football. How many horns down do you see with people that are from rival schools? It's harmless. It doesn't mean anything. He's riding some testosterone at that very moment with some big kills at big moments. And I know that you feel that Gajcek is, dissing your Hawaiian culture, so to speak, with the gesture that he made. But I bet if you got a chance to talk to him off the court in a couple hours after the match, he'd be probably one of the people that you would like the most. He's a great kid. He comes from Poland, and Poland's built a little bit differently. And say what you want about it. I'm not gonna comment one way or the other on whether I think it's acceptable or not. But I would not put too much weight behind it because it doesn't mean anything other than him just feeling that moment, and it is what it is. So, that's my take on that.
All right.
Yeah, I think we've seen this kind of thing in many sports over the years, right? Like I think it's just kind of relatively new to volleyball. But I agree with Jay. I don't really put a ton of stock in it. I think at the end of the day, Hawaii has some of the greatest fans that maybe volleyball has ever seen. For sure, men's volleyball has ever seen. And so I hope nobody took any serious offense to it. Because I agree, I don't think he meant it in a way that was anything other than it was competitive. Hawaii owned that gym. Like if you were there in person, those fans traveled a long way to support their team, and they were dominating the space. And as Long Beach made their comeback, he might have taken it a little too far, but I don't think he meant it in a way that was disrespectful towards Hawaiian people or Hawaiian culture.
Agreed.
But yeah, it was when I saw it live, I was like, oop, some people are gonna be really upset about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope,
Yeah.
I agree. Completely agree. I'm like, if this is the NBA, NCAA college basketball, any contact sport, I think we try to soften it for the young men. And again, I can share a sentiment of I am a huge, huge fan of the Hawaii fans. They have shown me nothing but love. We only played there once, and I still get comments and love, genuine love from the fans just because of good volleyball.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes that we put our volleyball players, our young men, in this box of like they have to be dainty and soft because we're not playing a contact sport. Let the boys play. It's up to the coaches to say like, hey, that was a little too much. Or if you really felt like it, issue a statement saying like, no, no hard feelings. It's Theo, you hit the nail on the head of if you're dominating this space, and as an emotional coach, I'm like, how are we going to shut these fans up? They got to win, and I wholeheartedly just think it was this competitive spirit, and everyone knows that Hawaii has some of the best fans in volleyball. So let the boys play. Let's see some magic. Let's compare them to the NCAA March Madness. It's May Madness now. May Mayhem. Let's let it happen. So, but Hawaii fans, number one.
I agree
All right,
100%.
I got to go for the other take on this one. Sorry, people. As an Islander, sorry, yes, for you can't see me, I'm Filipino. That's a Pacific island. A lot of my people in Hawaii, and a surfer as well. So I get the Shaka Aloha lifestyle. But I also was raised to play in the game where my coach's philosophy was respect your opponent, respect the competitor. And in fact, all through high school and club, growing up, that's what it was. You keep everything on your side, keep everything on your side. And then in college, same thing. Coach, sportsmanship is one of the most important values of this program. And then I come across a very well renowned coach, as high as the international levels. He developed 4 pillars for his team, which are the 4 mission statements. And one of them, and I stress this, the utmost respect for your opponent. That just always has stuck for me. The guys like David Robinson, Tim Duncan in the NBA, I love their play because they let their play do the talking. You've got fans who want to love the game. I want to raise kids, have sports values. I want them to have good manners. I want them to treat people how they want to be treated. I want to respect cultures, and that was tough, but I get it. He's in the moment. He's young, but I never understood the horns down thing until I saw. I worked a duel and one of the teams did it, and I've never heard a bigger grumble at a small beach volleyball tournament in Texas. I was like, "Oh, what do I miss there?" And someone explained it to me. But I think that a very passionate people. They treasure their volleyball and their culture there because the Hawaiian culture is a different culture. There's just a love and a vibe, and it's something that is the essence and the vibe and the aura of the island. So I understand being offended, but I also understand young kid, probably not familiar with Hawaii volleyball and the fans and how incredibly they are in supporting the game and as a people. So, I'd rather err on the side of humility, not do it, and keep it on the side of my teammates and celebrate.
Well, and Rob, I appreciate you sharing that perspective because the reality is for all of us, we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And the way that was received is only going to be understood by the people who that symbol means a lot to. So I think it's a great take, Rob.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
would agree with that.
Hey,
That definitely opened some eyes.
Yeah.
I shudder to think having the whole Hawaiian nation after you and
No,
angry with something you did. You
don't
don't want that.
don't want that at all. I
what?
think we have a job as coaches, and I stand by what I said, and
Yeah,
of educating these young men. Of I bet he has never had a conversation with someone or anyone, our young men together, saying, "Hey, this is what this means. This is why it means it." You know, uh, I think this is an opportunity of education through sport,
yeah,
and I definitely have poignant moments of don't poke the bear because you get ready to play each other again.
yeah.
But let's educate our young men. Let's be better stewards.
Yep. Well, that's why we love the game. And it's a community. And I think it's a very respectful community. And it's a very inclusive and a loving and a passionate and Brazilian, Hawaiian, American, Canadian, you name it. It's all over the world. And, yeah, we understand there's this competitive nature. There's going to be talking, there's going to be chirping. And, some of the most intense trash talking across the net, the dudes are best bros. I had that happen this year. I'm like, man, why were you going at so? Oh, we were roommates for U21 this last year.
Yeah.
So, but anything else that we want to add on here? Because this is going to be an exciting week, and we're all going to be watching all our sites. And I wish I could be there in person. I'm going to be at the beach volleyball championships for the first time, so I'm excited. But I'll be having it on in the evenings after my shift is done, so to speak, during the day. But if we're done, I'm going to say goodbye to the guys who had to jump. Oh, what does that one say there? Vacation?
Oh, it's
Play
telling me
golf.
what I got to
Okay.
do.
The little spin wheel. So for Dan Friend of Lewis, we've got Brad Roster of UC San Diego, who had to leave early. Jay Hosick, George Mason, Nickie Sanlin, McKendree, Theo Edwards of CSUN. Man, entertaining season for your teams. And always hate competing against you guys, but also a big fan of what all you guys do and have been doing. And hopefully we can do the same panel next week. Nickie, very
As,
indirect ask. Now
as
direct.
long as you'll have me and I don't get booed off the show, I would love to be back.
Or analytics went up as soon as we added it because people are sick of Jay, Brad, and Dan. You know?
I'll do what I can for the people.
All right. Hey, have fun watching this week, and fantastic effort with all your teams this year. And I'm looking forward what the future has, but we can have that discussion after the next episode. So be sure to follow it. I was surprised, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but all the matches for the national championship are only on ESPN Plus. That can't be right. I went to the release, and nothing's going over to the 2 or U or anything like that.
I'm just glad that they're having the Hawaii regional play at a normal time that the rest of the country can watch it, especially us East Coasters. So thank you for putting them on at a normal time for all of us.
Yeah. Last call at a Nova bar.
Yeah.
Oh, Hawaii's turning on.
Yeah.
All right. Everyone have a great week and look forward to chat next Monday.
For right.
See you guys.
See ya.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to College Volleyball Weekly. Be sure to follow Rob Sbari at the Rob on the Mic on Instagram and at Rob on the Mic on Twitter.